YouTube apparently. You can't hear me. On here, on YouTube. So yeah, I'll probably find that everybody can hear me on YouTube, but not in the big blue button, which is going to be a bit of a shame. Now maybe big blue button's coming online now. Okay. Right. I might as well, given that I'm rambling to myself, switch this round to the selfie view. Hello! Let me just see. Aha! We're gaining a Bernadette. Superb. Bernadette's very quiet at the moment though. Don't think I can hear you. Are you muted at the minute? I can't remember whether the big blue button is. It's like it's yet another video conferencing thing for everybody to get used to. But this one is all open source and hosted by a nice cooperative. So that's why I'm favouring big blue button at the moment. Let's see. Wondering if I should close this live streaming window, although that's going to kill my bandwidth. Riveting viewing at the moment for everybody on the live stream, I'm sure. Though there is only one person on the live stream. Hello, whoever's on the live stream. Maybe I should put something into the chat window. To ask any questions or make comments here. You don't have to be. What don't you have to be? Oh yeah, you don't have to be in the video call to take part. And lurking is also just fine. Right, that's that. Still, yeah, not getting to hear you at all, Bernadette. Let me see. There's too many things to try and keep up with. Yeah, you should totally be able to.
You are currently the only person in this conference.
Apparently I'm the only person in the conference, but I can definitely see you, Bernadette, so I'm confused as to why it's telling me that I'm the only person in the conference. Let's see if there are any... I don't know, maybe I could hear you then. Aha! I can hear you.
Is that just the echo or something that I can hear?
I don't know, you shouldn't be able to hear any echo, I wouldn't have thought. Are you watching the stream as well? Oh, okay, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Cool. Hello!
Sorry, I know, sorry, I just had to I was like, what button shall I press to see if I can figure this out, but it's all good.
That's fine. We have worked out all of the buttons.
Yes.
And then I'm doing kind of slightly crazy things at this end, where I've got OBS Studio, which is some open source streaming software, which is very good and very cool, and lets me like flip between different scenes and things, so I can, he says, if I can remember how to do it. Like, I think that has just changed the stream to my desktop. Of course, now I need to go and look at whether. No, it hasn't. It hasn't at all. Damn, my amazing hotkeys aren't working. Did that not work?
So I can see that on here. So what am I on? The blue room?
You're on Big Blue Button, I think.
Okay.
Which is like the video call thing. So I will need to remember if I do switch to the desktop view on the stream to also share my screen with you so that you can actually see what I'm doing.
And this is why we leave the tech stuff to you. I would not know where to start.
Well, it's because I'm trying to do like super complicated kind of tech stuff. I mean, it's not super complicated, but like basically the idea is having a video call so that it's a bit more interactive and a bit more collaborative, because there's people who do live, I think most of the live coding is generally people who just share their screen and then work through some stuff, which is, I think what we were doing quite a bit. But I like the idea of the kind of it being a bit more collaborative, and it not just being like, yes, I am the tech person who will show you the stuff. It's like, well, it's just a bunch of us working on things, maybe. And this is, we did a little bit with the live. This is only the second time I've done the live coding stuff, as you can no doubt tell, everybody who's watching. So it's all still a bit rough around the edges. I think it's always going to be a bit rough around the edges, but it's a bit more rough around the edges than ever, or than usual. And so it's trying to work out how to do, like doing the video call stuff so that other people can be part of it, but then kind of live streaming it to YouTube so that people who don't want to be like fully in it or can just kind of watch. And then also, as you say, it gets recorded. And we've got Jackie as well.
Hello.
Hiya, but I don't seem to be able to get my camera. Oh, wow, it's working now.
You have got a camera and you've got like sound as well. You're super loud. Or you were a moment ago to me, but that might be me getting kind of levels right. Maybe Bernadette's a bit quiet and you're a bit, I don't know. May have just deafened everybody on the stream. Who knows?
I don't know.
The audio comes through on the stream, so well, hopefully all of the audio will come through on the stream. That is part of the plan. But that's one of the things that wasn't great last time. Like the levels were a bit off, and I think I've improved that.
Right.
But
yeah, I've had comments on like when I've been on Zooms and stuff that I am quieter, so I think it's just my laptop.
Right.
But I don't know.
Yeah, there might be like sometimes you can go into the audio settings and like pick a sound level for the microphone as well as for your headphones sort of thing. So that's sometimes like I think that's what the last live coding I did, like there was definitely a variation in levels, and I was louder than Ross, who was the other person who joined me last time, but I think at the time it seemed fine to me. But and also I was quite quiet compared to like other YouTube stuff I listen to, so I've done that going in and trying to boost my microphone levels a bit to try and make it a bit better. But
I'm on like my sound settings now, and like the mic, there's like a bar that sort of shows, and it's literally like just
right
there.
Okay.
So I don't know. I mean, if you can hear me fine, I might just have to spread the voice a bit more.
Yeah, I think it was like and I suppose partly because Jackie's got a headset which has then got a mic that's like super close to her mouth. She was just quite a bit louder than you were.
That's fine.
But I'm sure we'll work it all out. Jackie's back with us, so we should probably, I suppose, get on and do.
Sorry about that. I was halfway through cutting something on the CNC. So.
Oh right, okay. you're cutting stuff and live coding. Excellent.
I'm not. I'm going to leave the cutting stuff until after the live coding.
You have to start doing live CNCing or something. Just
Yes.
That'd be quite noisy.
Definitely.
I imagine. But
I would say that. It's very satisfying to watch a CNC do its thing.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody else can do that better than me, but yeah, I'm sure that's
how
we'll get somebody to do it.
Like,
yeah. Yes.
There are people who can do making maps better than I can, but hasn't stopped me from deciding that I should, show off all of the ways that I can't quite remember how to do all this sort of stuff, which is again partly deliberate in the I haven't really done any prep for how we make the map, but that's partly so I can show how I'd go and find these bits of information out, because rather than just be like, oh, somebody knows how to do this and can just throw something together really quickly, that's I suppose it's useful in it if all you want to do is learn all the steps to follow, but I'm also interested in trying to make the tech a bit less oh yeah, there are these amazing wizards who can do stuff, because we're not. We're just good at poking around with things, and most of the time all of that gets kind of hidden away, and so it just looks like, oh look, this is an amazing thing, and it's like, well yeah, but actually there was a load of just googling and trying stuff and it not working, and then kind of going, why is that not doing stuff? Well, that should be doing something different. But yes. Anyway, given that we're kind of 10 minutes in, we're probably we've got somebody's on the big blue button as well, listening in. I get it. Cool. I should work out which. Aha. Okay. Sorry, I'm just getting distracted by my OBS Studio view now. Actually, what I should probably do is I don't know. Actually, I'm trying to see. I'm thrown now as to what I should, where I should be sharing it, because I've set this stuff up that's too complicated. What I should do, I should have switched to the live stream to be watching the desktop view, which does a crazy kind of sort of 70s top of the pops thing of amazing video feedback when I do it when I'm in OBS Studio, and so now we're back into this, and then what I should do is well, actually maybe we should just work out what we're going to do today. So the plan is to make the map handily in some ways, given that Laura was also asking about a map of kind of bike parking and isn't joining us. We can hopefully make 2 maps. So what I was thinking, Bernadette, is because the software or the website, I suppose, rather than software really, that I'm going to use to make the map doesn't seem to let you do kind of collaborative maps for doing the viewing side of things. So we're kind of splitting it, I suppose, into 2 problems almost. So there's what I guess maybe it's just for anybody who's watching presumably has seen me tweeting about what we're going to be doing, but just in case they haven't, Bernadette here had asked about making a map of benches. So I guess, do you want to just give us a bit, because it'll give Jackie and I a bit of background as well, maybe if you want to say what your map is, why do you want the map, and what do you want the map to show?
Yeah, so I graduated last year from LJMU, and I started making benches towards the end of my degree, and realised that there was a need for benches in and around the city to make it more accessible, and I've sort of done more and more research since leaving, and I was working with AYCH Platform, which is based in the Baltic, and I said to them about my idea of making a bench map, but because I was too busy at the time, I didn't get a chance to do it. But obviously, well, now I'm unemployed, got all the time in the world, so yeah, I just want to get it going and hopefully make a bench map for Liverpool and beyond, hopefully, and yeah, see where it goes, see if it's successful or not, and see if people use it mainly.
Okay, cool. Well, hopefully it will be beyond, as like it should be a kind of global map once we've made it. Is what I'm intending at least. And so I guess there's kind of two, or like for me, especially coming at it from I've done lots of stuff with OpenStreetMap. I don't know if you've come across OpenStreetMap at all.
Yes, because I think the first time I mentioned it, you linked me to the OpenStreetMap,
Right.
but haven't had. Like, I searched benches on it, and obviously it came up with all the different areas, which I was like, how was that? But it's just sort of trying to put it all together and make it as accessible as possible, so that it's just there when people,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because I think I probably just threw an overpass turbo query, which we'll come to in a bit. Which is just like this is the way of seeing all of that bit of information that OpenStreetMap knows about. So we'll kind of go through some of those steps. But yeah, OpenStreetMap is kind of Wikipedia for maps. Isn't a very good description of it for anybody watching the stream. And it's basically a user-generated, collaborative, like global project of people mapping things. And it started, I don't know, in like the mid 2000s. Like I started doing stuff with it in 2008 when I moved back to the Northwest. And the village that I grew up in, kind of on the edge of Merseyside, like at that point on OpenStreetMap there was like one road that went into one of the pubs, and that was all of the village. Was just like there was like a little road that finished at a pub, which presumably is just that somebody who does OpenStreetMap mapping had gone to the Derby Arms for lunch or something, or a pint or whatever, and had mapped their route into the village to go to the pub. And so I just had my phone with GPS on it, like I think it was Nokia N95 at the time, and I could just go and kind of track the GPS, and then you can upload it to OpenStreetMap and you can start to do stuff. You can do they have video, not video, like satellite imagery as well. They have, so you can go and kind of map other things. And because it's all user generated, then people can map kind of whatever they like, and people get.
There was one I found like in Venice when I was I think it was Venice or somewhere like that, of benches, and it was just like a sort of dock or something, and they'd pinpointed where all the benches were, and then some of them were a different colour, and I clicked on it, and it must have been like, when some benches are in memory of, or
Right.
they've got some information on, it actually said that as well. So I thought that was like a really good idea, just to make it so it's more accessible, basically, so people know what's on it.
Yeah, that's nice. And you can, you can put all sorts of information to OpenStreetMap. You could, I mean, I don't know what kind of level of detail. But there has been a discussion recently, actually, on the tagging mailing list, because basically you tag things with different attributes. So you'll kind of mark a point, and then you'll tag it and say this is a bench, or this is a post box, or you'll draw a little area and be like, this is a house, or this is an industrial building, or this is an industrial building and there's a company called X that's inside it, and this is their website, and there's all sorts of levels of and varying levels of data depending on what people have gone and bothered to map, and then so that you end up with this big data set, and then there are ways of viewing that, and there's the standard one you get from, if you go to www.openstreetmap.org. It's a bit like Google Maps. You can drag stuff around and view different things of it, and it's mostly got the same sorts of things you'd expect on it as you get on OpenStreetMap. But one of the nice things about well, it has the same things you'd expect on OpenStreetMap, because it is OpenStreetMap, but has the same things as Google Maps has that you'd expect to see on Google Maps and OpenStreetMap. But you can also actually, maybe I should probably just share my screen and start showing things as well as just talking at everybody. Let me just share my screen. Hello, is that Neil?
Hi, it is, yeah. And I'm just speaking of, because this is actually something I actually do in my everyday job as well, is sort of asset management.
Okay.
So effectively what we do is we can get it down to 2 centimetre accuracy. And we do that for many different councils, for example. And like you were saying about the attributes, you can actually link all the attributes to whether a gully's been cleaned, whether or not there's any maintenance needs doing on it, and all those sorts of things. So it's actually quite interesting. The way we do it is using Leaflet and OpenStreetMap is exactly the same way we would approach doing this. But we'd have asset sub hardware basically.
Okay.
And as well as mobile phones, so you'll have a guy in the field who'll go out using his mobile phone to collect the data.
Right.
So it's quite interesting.
Ah, cool. So is that using OpenStreetMap as the data stuff, or is this a sort of building new and additional data sets kind of for the stuff that
It's a complete mix. It'll be a complete mix of gullies that we just import into the system and then display on the maps. Or we might actually have people who are just going out into the field and collecting the data. So, the council might have guys who just use our mobile app,
right,
and gather the data and save the data. So we have had people doing it for cemeteries, graves,
okay,
as an example, where they're recording the position of the graves.
Yeah, I don't think OpenStreetMap's got down to that level yet, which is probably just a matter of time before people do. Just you go and find Anfield Cemetery and see if anybody's mapped individual graves. No, it doesn't look like there's individual graves. Or they don't show up on the standard map.
Yeah, they don't show up. The way we do it is we have sort of marker, which will basically you can hover over. So it's got a map you hover over, and then you can click on that and basically display all the information that's been captured.
Mm-hmm. Cool. It doesn't look well. Anfield Cemetery at least seems to have got the highest, or the most sort of zoomed in that you get with in OpenStreetMap. So yeah, nobody yet. It seems like there's footpaths have been mapped, but not individual graves. But yeah, that's cool. That's a nice app. So yeah, this that I'm showing now is OpenStreetMap in the kind of standard view, and you can the little query features thing lets me drag it around and click on various areas, and then it will show me about stuff that's in that area. And yeah, you can see there's a little tiny residential stub road, and then there's some houses, and then you won't be able to see that because it's on a wider zoom level, but there's the kind of city boundary and the like. And how do I get rid of that? There we go. I get rid of that. And the other thing you can do because OpenStreetMap is then an open data set, people can build different tile sets to go with it. So that's the standard view, which is a bit like kind of Google Maps would be, but you can also do things like the cycle map, which you can see is, it's taking the same data but just viewing it in different ways. So the kind of big dual carriageway isn't as prominent because you might not want to cycle down that as much, but actually this kind of residential road along here is National Cycle Network Route 810, and so that's a bit more visible. So as you kind of zoom out, instead of it being the kind of motorways and stuff that are important to cars, you get to see it's the kind of cycle networks. All these blue bits are the Liverpool Cycle Network ones, and the red lines are the National Cycle Network things. I don't know what the other, what does the humanitarian one? No, that's all a bit, tiles aren't loading very well for that. transport map, which is then making the kind of trains much more prominent, and the roads less prominent. So there are these different ways of viewing stuff once you've got the data. So I think we're going to do the same sort of thing, where we will split the problem into kind of two parts, I suppose. So one is going to be making a map to show the OpenStreetMap data that we want, and then there'll also be a how do we add new data into it. And the website that we're going to use, what's the best route to do this? There's a website called UMAP, which seems to be French, or based on OpenStreetMap, the French OpenStreetMap kind of servers. But it's a system that you can use to make your own maps. Like, it uses the OpenStreetMap data as the kind of background tiles, but you can then put whatever you want on top of it. And so this is the site, the kind of the website that I think is going to be useful to build our.
Oh, you just broke up for a bit.
Did I?
Yeah. Probably only like 10 seconds.
Okay.
But yeah.
This will probably just be the amount of stuff I'm attempting to do from my computer or something. But yeah, so there's a UMAP, which is the thing that I think we should use to make our bench and bike parking maps on. And so because this, when you log into this, you end up with like your maps. So you can go and look at maps that I've built on this. And there are a few different ones. Like, I made a map of things look at when they visit Liverpool. It says, hoping this is going to load.
Again, no. Oh no.
There we go.
What's that?
It's loaded. So yeah, this I've made of restaurants and things. You can toggle stuff on and off. So I think we're going to build something that looks a bit like this, but obviously instead of having restaurants and pubs and stuff in it, it's going to have benches.
Oh, you keep breaking up.
Do I?
You just said this is a map of, and then it just cut off. So we don't know what it's a map of.
It's a map of pubs and places I recommend to visitors in Liverpool.
Yeah.
Let me see if I close. I think this might be causing the problem, or maybe not. But yeah, I think that was streaming the stream back to my computer. So I'm hopefully have reduced the amount of bandwidth required by doing all this stuff. So hopefully the Big Blue Button will cope a little bit better, and we'll be okay with you being able to hear me in future. But yeah, because UMAP, like a single person owns the map for like the display stuff. So what I thought, Bernadette, is that I could build one for the bike parking, and at the same time you could kind of follow along and build one for benches, because we're basically going to be doing the same thing but just showing different types of data on it.
Oh, you cut off again.
Did I?
It keeps doing it at really critical points. Like, it's really aptly timed.
Evil intent.
Yes. What's going to be the best way of? Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that. Maybe we'll just kind of soldier through. Actually, one thing I did do is I think my video is like high quality webcam or something. Maybe I'll drop the quality of the webcam, because webcam doesn't really matter. Let's see if I can. Let's maybe
That's
go.
why he's doing that, Bernadette. How will you think of actually capturing the physical data for the benches?
So
Sorry.
That long?
Is that, I can't hear you very well on this. I don't know why.
So yeah, Neil, I think, was asking how we're capturing the data for the benches, and what we're doing is basically we're using the fact that OpenStreetMap already knows about a load of benches. So to begin with, we're going to use the ones that OpenStreetMap already knows about, and then so that'll let us get the map to view built. And then it's going to be a case of, as an ongoing thing, the way you add more benches to the map is that you add them to OpenStreetMap, and then they'll automatically show up on the map.
Exactly how you got in the positioning of that? Is that just going to be some using those sort of like with passion, or?
Sorry, yeah, you're a bit kind of noisy and quiet. Well, there's like background noise, I suppose, is it?
But for the existing ones that you're going to add, you know, the new ones, as and when you're adding them to OpenStreetMap,
Yeah.
how are you getting the position of them?
Well, that will depend on who's adding them, because we're not going to add all of them.
Yeah, I'm hoping for it to be a bit more of like a collaboration type of thing, and
Yeah.
you know, just like as you're walking round Liverpool, say, I don't know, I haven't thought of that bit yet, but I'm hoping it will be a bit more of a collaborative process, because yeah, we won't be able to map all of them, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I was just wondering what the concept, whether you're going to have an app that people can just load up at a point and just fill in the data at that point, or is it going to be a web file or whatever, you know? It's just curious.
Yeah, well, what I'm planning on running through today, at least, is kind of how you do it from a web browser, probably on your computer once you know where one is.
Yeah.
Because that'll be easier to go through. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting. I quite like. I haven't got around to doing anything with it yet, and I don't know if this is gonna. Oh, okay, that's probably not going to stream very well. But there's this camera shutter button thing that I've got. It's like a little Bluetooth remote camera shutter for my phone.
Okay.
And like long term, there's a bunch of times, and actually benches, funnily enough, is one of the things that I'd been thinking of mapping with it, because I go out for lots of bike rides, and I've thought in the past, like, oh, it'd be really good to map like all the benches that are on the canal when I'm cycling along the canal, but I'm not going to stop whenever I encounter a bench and map it. So what I kind of thought would be quite nice would be to work out a way of kind of just, you know, have this strapped to the handlebars and then just be able to kind of press the camera shutter button each time I go past a bench, and have that like just, and then when I get home I can then be like, okay, I've got a bunch of like these 20 lat long points that were taken as I cycled along, and I know that I was mapping benches, but another day it could be post boxes or like whatever.
There is a way on your phone, isn't there, when you take a picture, because that's what I've been doing. I've just been taking pictures,
Yeah.
and it's actually, if you've got it linked and you've allowed your location, it does come up with that. So that is, you know, the shutter thing would be ideal for that, wouldn't it?
I suppose, yeah, taking a photo, yeah. Yeah, I hadn't thought about actually just using the photos. That's a good idea. Like, I was thinking, oh, I'd need to build a little app of some description that would do a thing. And I mean, I don't know if it would work because the camera would probably turn off automatically whilst I was cycling along, but that's kind of an interesting, like, actually you could just use the camera app.
It might be a bit
But-
dangerous if you are like mid-cycle, but it is something to. I mean, I don't know. There's probably other ways of doing it, but that's how I've sort of done it so far.
Mhm.
Yeah, just tracked it on my phone through the photos that I've taken. But yeah,
Could you attach that button to the phone somehow so that you didn't have to mess around with the phone if it was just perhaps attached to the front of your bike. So
Yeah,
so you can
you could.
turn it around to
Like but the tricky bit is that the app on the phone, I think, will turn itself off if it's not used after a certain amount of time. So like it would be okay,
Yeah.
but then I'd press the button and the phone would have gone, like the phone app would have gone to sleep, so it wouldn't then take a photo.
Yeah.
I think
So,
is the problem. Like I don't know, but. Yeah, so there was, I think, Bernadette, your idea of just taking photos and using the geotagging on the photos is a good way to run forwards with it. Like, 'cause that's really low key, and then there might be a way of doing a bulk kind of, like just extract all the lat longs from the photos in a, either that you upload or that you have a little tool to go through it. There might be ways of making that quicker, I suppose, is what I'm saying with that.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely lend itself well to something like an app. I mean, I'm not there yet with it, but if it was some, and bringing other things into it, because I know that I'm working with Transition Liverpool at the moment, and they're doing a zero carbon map. So it's all to do with like places. They've started off with food, but yeah, like something like that where it's got food places, it's got all to do with sustainability, accessibility, all that sort of thing. So, but that's like the future. In a few years, maybe.
The way we do it in our data capture, because our data capture is effectively can be anything you can think of, and what we do is we have a form that people can fill in, and that form can be different things. So if it's a post box or a bench, for example, the form will be different for what they're marking the point for, which is quite a good way of sort of getting individual attributes. By you just say, okay, it's a park bench, and it'll just list all the attributes, as well as the ability to take image, and the image will have things like the lat long in there, stored on the image, like that. What you're describing here kind of ties in a little bit. Obviously, I'm not trying to sell the system. It might sound like I'm not, because the cost would probably prohibit what you're doing anyway, but certainly for that aspect of it, we can certainly help along those sides of things of the best way to capture and get the data in. Ours is literally all sort of automated. You take an asset and it's automatically stored and opened on StreetMap.
Cool. So I guess the first step, I think, is going to be building the map then to get the existing benches that OpenStreetMap knows about, and then hopefully we can circle back and do how you can do like some not super automated, a bit laborious, possibly doable on a phone. I'm not totally sure. Like I'll run through it on a desktop just so that, because that'll be the easiest thing to show, and then there probably are ways of editing stuff in OpenStreetMap on phones, but I haven't done it myself, so I'd need to go and do some poking and learning about that sort of stuff. But it's all about how you get some data into OpenStreetMap. So the first thing I think is going to be creating a new map on UMap, probably. That's probably the first step. So Bernadette, I think you're going to be the best person to own the bench map, and I'll do the same and create one for bike parking, and so you'll be able to kind of just follow along the stuff that I'm doing, and then maybe at times we can kind of check in, and you can maybe share your screen or something, so we can see what the bench map is looking like in comparison to the bike parking map. And then hopefully at the end you'll have a bench map, and because then it means that if you want to go and change the wording of some of the bits and pieces that go in it, then you've got the login to go and do that, rather than it be I need to go and ask Adrian to change that sentence there so it says something different or something like that.
So this is, I'm opening this in UMap
Yes.
or OpenStreetMap.
So it's in UMap. So if you go to umap.openstreetmap.fr, let me just check and probably also put into the chat of the big blue button.
That'd be helpful. Perfect.
And I think you'll want to log in. Like I'm already logged in on my, and I can't remember what. Like I logged in with my OpenStreetMap account, which I suppose might make sense. Which probably then means actually what you should do is go and make an OpenStreetMap account.
Well, so this is where I'm up to. So it says login or sign in. It says please choose a provider, and then it's
got a bunch of options, hasn't it?
yeah. So I could log in with Twitter. I mean, there's OpenStreetMap on there. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's a good question. I mean it shouldn't. I suppose it. I don't think it really matters. It'll just be this will be what you will use to log into UMap. So if Twitter's one that you'd be happy with, then you could log in with your Twitter account. And it's just going to associate your UMap map with that kind of Twitter login, as it were. Like it won't have any of your Twitter login details. It'll just it's just using Twitter as a kind of an identity provider.
I've gone with the OpenStreetMap just in case.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, like if I would flick from one, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
like
gone
it
with it.
shouldn't matter, but that seems sensible. That's what I use for UMap. So I suppose from a case of least number of
Confusion.
differences between what I'm doing and what you're doing. Just it shouldn't make any difference. But you never know. So keeping stuff similar is going to be fine. So you might need to go and create an OpenStreetMap account, which will be useful down the line, because once you're adding benches, you'll need an OpenStreetMap account to add benches to OpenStreetMap.
Perfect. Okay, it's just. Oh no, site can't be reached. That's not good.
No, that's not.
This could be my laptop though, so I don't know. I'll give it another go anyway. I have got a few tabs up.
Yeah. So, well, if you want to give us a shout when you've got your OpenStreetMap account sorted and when you're logged into UMap, and whilst you're sorting that out, I'll just kind of jump back briefly to you can probably like tune out of this, Bernadette, to some extent. Like, more some general background. So one of the things that I do to keep track of what things we're doing and stuff like that is we use this. Well, in software development, we use GitHub is a way of keeping track of all your source code for things. We're not going to be using that for today because we're not really going to be doing any coding. But one of the things that does Liverpool, just kind of makerspace that Jackie and I are part of, we have we kind of abuse the issue tracker, which normally would track bugs in your software or new feature requests or all that kind of stuff, and so we need to keep track of, like, when the laser cutter breaks, or like whether we need to get more coffee filters, or all sorts of kind of general chores around the space, or ways to make the space better and things like that. And the way that we do that is we have a somebody should list, because those sorts of feature requests and kind of we need to fix that are usually accompanied by somebody saying somebody should fix the such and such. So we have a somebody should list of issues, and then because that worked reasonably well for the makerspace, I kind of thought it would be an interesting idea to do it for the city. So I created a Liverpool GitHub account, and which is at github.com/Liverpool-UK, and that has a somebody should repository inside it, which then has an issue list, which is mostly just where I keep track of, like, and anybody can join in and kind of suggest things and work on stuff, but in practice it seems to be mostly me, like where I keep track of things that we should maybe do around the city, and some of it can be stuff like the 15-minute city explorations that I'm doing, that I did in the last live coding session, and I'm sure I'll get back to. And so some of it's kind of around data and things, but sometimes it's like there was a discussion about whether we should turn a junction into a mini roundabout, and things like that. And so I created 2 new issues on this the other day, one of which is make a map of benches, and the other one is make a map of bike parking. So I'm going to kind of tag where we get up to in as comments in this when we get it finished, and provide links and things so that there's a bit more information for people to go and find stuff to go and do it. So hopefully we'll be able to get kind of cross off these 2 issues, or kind of close them out by the end of today, maybe. I guess we'll see how we get on. How are you doing on getting an account up and running, Bernadette?
So, for some reason it just won't let me open OpenStreetMap.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know why. It's just like it's taken too long to load. So I've sort of gone off and Googled it separately,
Mm-hmm.
to see if I could, cut the middleman. But it's still not loading for some reason. I don't know why.
Okay.
So I've done it with my Twitter account because
That sounds fair enough.
it seems to have worked. So that is literally where I'm up to now. So I'm logged in. Bees Bench.
Cool. Okay. Excellent. So you should be able to click on the create a map
Yes.
button, which I shall do as well, and you should then get a nice French-based with Londres instead of London, which is good.
Right.
So we'll zoom in a bit to get to kind of Liverpool. Let me just double check. Yes, I am. Just double checking that I wasn't managing to live stream the wrong kind of view all along. So yeah, have you got a map generally?
Yes. So I've just zoomed into Liverpool.
Yeah. So in the top it'll say untitled map, and there's a little
Yes.
there's a little pencil next to it, which you click on that and you get a bunch of map properties. So we can go in and give it a map.
If I create one to mess around with, can I delete it afterwards, or is that?
I assume so. Like,
Okay, I'll probably do that then.
It's
I'll call it testing something. Yeah.
So I've got up to the bit where it's got the different options. I've just called it bench to bench for now.
Yeah, you can go in and change this whenever you like. Like it's, you can edit that at any time. It's not you name this once and then it's forever called that.
Okay.
So, that's basically. Actually, there's another thing that's kind of useful sometimes to cover. So if you've got a name for it, which I've got a name for mine now. Over on the right hand side there is I suppose a couple that might be interesting to look at. There's change tile layers. It's like the kind of middle of the bottom group of gadgets on the toolbar on the right.
Yeah, got that.
And that lets you pick what kind of tiles you want as background, so you can go and pick kind of different ones, and with all this stuff you can go back in and change it at any point, so you can kind of pick one that looks interesting and then change your mind at a later date and go, and this is why you are going to own the bench map, so that you can make those sorts of decisions and go and make those sorts of changes.
You froze again, but I was just gonna say, am I picking OpenStreetMap? I'm assuming.
Pick whatever you
Oh.
like the look of.
Okay.
It's NASA Black Marble. What does that look like? That's maybe going to take forever to load the tiles. Some of them will load faster than others as well, so there's a bit of a... okay, NASA Black Marble is like a satellite image of light pollution, which probably isn't the best tile there for me to pick for the bike parking.
You can change these at any time as well, can you?
Yeah, it's all just, and I suppose I'm just showing some of the features that you get a view map before we get into loading some data into it.
Okay, I've got it. Oh wow, I've just come back onto this screen. So what's the one that you got selected? Did you say?
That's
The
NASA.
pollution one.
No, it's the one at the very bottom, which is NASA, or not quite the very bottom, but almost the very bottom. NASA Black Marble.
Oh right. So is that a nighttime image? I'm assuming, or is it just?
Yeah, I think it's like a light pollution satellite image. Because you,
Cool.
yeah, I can see like you can, Liverpool and then further across St Helens and things. I suppose heading north, you've got kind of the Formby and Southport and stuff, but then.
Surely that's the brightest.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think Blackpool's just off screen to if I scroll up a bit. Yeah, Blackpool's not that bright, really. They must have taken it when the illuminations weren't on.
Oh well.
But yeah, that's not very useful for a. I mean, the watercolor one is kind of nice. But again, yeah, I think they should probably stick with something a bit more traditional for letting people find where there's bike parking. So, I mean, actually, what I should probably do is pick the Cycle OSM one.
I've just gone with OpenStreetMap just so I can sort of
Yeah,
get to grips with it and see what that looks like for now. But obviously, like
Totally.
I say, you can change.
Yeah. that makes lots of sense. One thing that's a nice one as well, if you find kind of roughly where you want the center of the, or where you want the map to kind of show when it first gets loaded. So kind of pick the sort of zoom level you want, and also kind of roughly what you want to be in the middle. And again, you can go and change this again in the future and stuff like that. But I'm just, if you kind of get the map in a view that you sort of think, yeah, when somebody first visits the map, it would be kind of useful for it to be showing, I guess, Liverpool and like roughly this much of Liverpool, so you can kind of pick what zoom level you want people to first see, and then there's like a dot with with two arrows pointing at it on a diagonal on the right hand side near the bottom, and if you click on that, that will then save that view, and that's the kind of one that people will first go to when they first visit the map. And again, you can change it to other stuff in the future as well. So
Just on that, Adrian, those overlays that you've got on the right hand side, where you got all these different ones, is that changeable by the user? So when a user goes, as a public user goes to see it, are they able to change that?
So the stuff on the right they can't, but the stuff that's on the left they can. So like if so you can as a as a user, so you'll get when the user goes to it, they'll get whatever set of tiles that you kind of chose, and the center point and the zoom that you kind of chose as a starting point. And then obviously they can drag the map around, zoom in and out, but they can also click on the map background one, which will change the tiles for them, so they can pick different tile sets. But with the
okay, I was kind of just thinking with regards to where you said like a pollution one, for example, if you wanted to see the pollution over a particular park bench, now that's not your default layout that you've specifically chosen. The end user can go in and say, okay, I just want to see what the pollution is on that park bench. would they be able to just add that in?
Yes, they would. I mean, I don't know if the pollution one. I think is just kind of light pollution, more that it's like a satellite image of streetlights.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a. I mean, that would be kind of a cool one if you could get to see actual kind of air quality layers kind of mapped on it and stuff like that. But
You can do it because we do quite a lot for like the weather, so you can see where the rain's going to fall, which might be an interesting. This one you can see if there's like you see the sort of clouds, so you can say okay that might rain at some point.
mm-hmm.
So I won't so you can get this sort of data.
Yeah,
I'll just curious if there's one off or whether the end user can say okay let's just have a look at the rainfall. And see if it's going to actually pour down on over that park bench at 12 o'clock or something like that. You know?
Yeah, that'd be good. Future. So I think, as you say, the data stuff's available. I think you'd need to add that in as an extra kind of custom layer on these maps to be able to kind of pull it up. But if you add access to the data source, then that would totally be the sort of thing. I mean, what we're going to do in a minute is add the benches as an external data source, so that'll show some of like the stuff that you'd need to work out how to do it to pull things in for the weather, and you might need to modify it slightly or you might need to build some little bit of kind of glue code that would sort of map between the different ways of doing it, but we'll definitely show the kind of starting point that you could potentially expand in the future to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, you definitely need to. I just said the sort of glue code to forward and back in time, and stuff like that. But it's all.
Yeah. So if you click save, that will then save the view of the map as you've got it at the moment, and kind of commit all of those changes, I suppose, so that if somebody else goes to that page, then they can go and get the view that you've got at the minute. So have you been following along all right so far, Bernadette? Are you ready for the next step? Cool.
Yes. So at the moment, I've sort of got it Merseyside, so there's the Wirral as well, but like you say, I can change that at some point. Maybe that's a bit ambitious at the moment. I don't know how many benches there are in that space, but
I guess we'll find out. And because the next thing then is to work out how we're going to add some data. So you can use the sort of gadget, like the top gadgets over on the right hand side. There's a little point and a line and an area, so you can actually draw, just add points on that make sense. But I think for the benches stuff, it will make more sense to kind of get that data from OpenStreetMap, because as we'll see, OpenStreetMap already knows about a bunch of benches, so that'll let it keep current, rather than you having to go in and put all the points on. But you can, if you're doing like the map I showed earlier of pubs and restaurants and things, that was just one that I went and I just clicked on the thing to add a marker, and then you can add a marker and you can put some details in it of like the name of it and choose what colour you want it to be and what shape and things like that. But let me just delete that marker, delete that feature. If I right click on it, I could do that. And so what we want to do is we're going to add a new layer, which is basically like kind of sticking a transparency almost across this map that we've got, which will show some additional data. So the manage layers kind of gadget on the right hand side, which is sort of the stacked disks sort of thing, will let us add a layer, and there's already a layer 1 there, so I could even just use that one that I've already got. And this layer is going to have bike parking, so I'm going to call it bike parking. I mean, it's not completely clear that we're going to end up with multiple layers, but you might do in the future. I mean, like on my tourist, or like, you know, map for visitors, I've got a few. I've got a layer called coffee shops and a layer called pubs and a layer called restaurants, which means that I can do different colours for those different icons, and also you can kind of toggle them on and off as a general view, so you could kind of just stop viewing all of the pubs or something like that if they're kind of cluttering things up. Like, we're probably not going to end up with multiple layers in this particular map, because yours is going to show benches and the one I'm doing is going to show bike parking, but it's not going to hurt that we have them on, you know, potentially on different layers. And the next thing that I need to do is remember how to wire all these things up. So I think, like, it's this remote data button down at the bottom. If we open that up, and then we're going to need to fill some stuff in this remote data area. And what that means is that basically when it loads this map, it's then going to go off and fetch the data from somewhere else and then display it on this map for us. So the next thing we need to know is where we're going to go and get some data from. And we're getting the data from OpenStreetMap, but I need to refresh my memory as to how we are going to get this data out. So let me open a new tab.
I'll try and get OpenStreetMap open on my laptop, but I don't know if
Yeah,
work.
actually what you might want to try is, if you can, because this is what we will be using. So there's a OpenStreetMap is where all the data goes, and so eventually, yeah, we might need to work out how to get you onto OpenStreetMap, or you'll have to just follow along on my screen and then hopefully do it in future. And I'm sure, yeah, if you're still having problems, you can give me a shout and I can we can work on it a bit more. But the way that we're going to actually get the data out of OpenStreetMap is using this tool called Overpass Turbo. So that's overpass-turbo.eu. So stick that into the chat.
Oh, perfect.
And
Could you just go back to the bit where you open the whatever it was, where you could choose the remote data?
okay, yeah. So in UMap, there's a manage layers option.
Yeah.
And when you click on that, then you get to be able to, you know, you can give your layer a name. You might need to click, I suppose I went into, let me close that. Go into manage layers. I suppose you get to see what layers you've already got, so you can, if you've already got like one layer, I think it maybe starts out with one layer as a default. There's a little pencil that will let you edit it, or you can add a new layer if you're going to add another layer, which is where you want the data to show up.
Yeah, I can see it now, thank you.
Cool. So, and then yeah, the remote data thing was down there, and I've managed to create a new blank layer by accident. There we go. So yes, Overpass Turbo is what we will use to query the data on OpenStreetMap. So yeah, maybe see if you can get that up, Bernadette, and whilst you're doing that, I'm going to go and remind my you've got it, you're just ahead of me, whereas now I'm going to have to go and find, and basically because I've done this before, I know it's possible, but I can't remember how to do it, so I need to go and find my the link to the blog post that I read that explains how you kind of wire these two things together. And let's see, So we used Overpass Turbo, and here we go. Couple of helpful blog posts from Mapper Mercier, who are some OpenStreetMap people in the Midlands, and hopefully their website is still open, still up and running, because it's a few years since I read. Yeah, 2016 is when I wrote this blog post, and that's not a super promising looking lack of things loading, isn't it? Well, let's give it a second or maybe what I should do whilst that's doing that, I'm going to go. So this is the other way. If if it turns out the web page doesn't exist, you can always see if it is in the Internet Archive, and so we can go to web.archive.org and paste the URL that we're after into that and search the Wayback Machine, and we can find that the Wayback Machine does know about it, which is good. And hopefully, well, I don't know, actually it was 2016 that I was doing stuff, so let's go and look at it around 2016 and go and pick a particular snapshot, and hopefully that will load the website. There we go. So is it loaded in the main? No, it's still trying to load in the main thing, but the blog post is in the Internet Archive. The Internet Archive is great.
That's a pretty nifty thing, isn't it? Like if you can't find it, just Google it through another
Yeah.
website.
Like the
Or
Internet
not
Archive is awesome. Yeah, like not everything is in it, but and it's like it's completely. So it's like a charity or something in the States, I think. So everybody should donate to the Internet Archive to help them pay for all of the servers that they need and things to keep all of these old blog posts and all sorts of things up and running. Okay, yeah, so this has got the key bit that we want. This is the bit that I can't quite remember, that we will need to be able to get the to get the data to load live, and it's using Overpass Turbo to kind of query the data. So now that I know what we're going to cut and paste to build some stuff up, we need to go and find the data that we want to then. So this kind of link here will give us the stuff we need to copy into UMAP for how it gets the remote data. But before we get to that, we need to work out what the query is that we're going to run to gather the data that we want. And so that is in Overpass Turbo. Basically, this is the most, like, the nearest we're going to get. Well, I suppose it is code in some ways. Like this is the only bit of kind of coding that we'll be doing today. And that's this thing on the right on the right. So it's on the left even. On the left hand side lets you write a query, and then the map on the right hand side will show it when you run it. Now I'm not sure quite what yours will look like, Bernadette or Jackie or anybody else who's following along, because mine has remembered the last query that I ran. So
So mine is, I think it must have been amenity drinking water.
Okay.
I don't know.
Right.
Or it has got a query on there from before.
Right. Okay. So if you click the run button, do you get any output from that?
No, it just like sort of reloaded it and it's still the same.
Okay. Maybe there aren't any drinking fountains in Liverpool, which is possible.
It wouldn't appear.
And yeah, there may be drinking fountains that aren't. I wonder if there's a tag for like old, no longer functioning drinking fountains, because I should totally start mapping them, because that annoys me a bit. Having lived in Turin for a year, where there's loads of public drinking fountains, so you can always just get some water like really easily. And like
they were removed by Dr. Duncan because they were causing cholera. Yeah, that was what he did. That was.
Well, that's no bloody good.
I think he did the right thing, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, but because there's loads of Liverpool, and it's like we could do with them again, really. I'd have thought, and surely we would be able to stop people from getting cholera from them now.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But like, there's one in Prince's Park. There's one opposite the Invisible Wind Factory on the Dock Road. There's one just by St Nick's Church on the dock. Like, I know where a bunch of them are, but none of them dispense water anymore. So anyway,
That's a big project, definitely.
Yeah, I think I did start tagging some of them with like a hashtag on Instagram, like Lost Water Fountains of Liverpool or something. But I suppose it's only really interesting if we can get them back into use, and that seems like a much bigger thing than just adding a hashtag to a couple of Instagram posts. So I haven't started running with that one yet. So yeah, like basically this will let you search for different things in the OpenStreetMap dataset. And actually what I might do is make my view a bit bigger so that people watching on the stream might be able to see it a little more easily. And this here is a map of all of the bicycle parking that is in kind of Liverpool, and it probably hasn't got all of the bicycle parking that is there. If I zoom in, yeah, it definitely hasn't, because I know about some new cycle parking that got installed quite recently, just by Does Liverpool, so we can go and add that a bit later. That will give me something to show how we can add new points to OpenStreetMap. But it already knows about a whole bunch of points. So all these little dots drawn on the map are all the bicycle parking. Now, the way that I kind of worked out what that was, so I think we'd need to work out what it is for benches. So I think what I did for that is I just did a search for OpenStreetMap bench and tag, because basically everything in OpenStreetMap gets tagged with stuff, and so those are the things you can do. So I searched for that, and yeah, the top result is tag amenity equals bench on the OpenStreetMap wiki. And I go in here.
Just literally alter that to bench.
Yeah, so basically, and this gives you, so you can see there are some additional tags that might get put in, like whether it has a backrest, which way it points, how many seats it has, what colour it is, whether it's wood or stone or something else, whether somebody looks after it. And so I guess you could if it was useful to kind of differentiate between those things. I mean, I guess I don't know how many or how often it gets used, all the different ones, so we can do amenity equals bench.
Yeah, there's quite a few different ones. They're sort of like in clusters. Well, you'll see.
Yeah.
But,
so we can do amenity equals bench. I can't.
I like it's got the 5 rows of 12 seats in Lime Street Station as a vent. You know, the bit where you...
Oh, yeah.
I've just
Yeah.
seen it. So if I click on it, what's it do? Oh, right, okay.
Capacity equals 60. Excellent.
60. Yeah, that's that, isn't it?
Cool.
That's the really long ones, isn't it? Yeah, obviously. Right.
Yeah. Nice. So I wonder what else.
I wonder if they've got it all sort of blocked off at the moment because of, to stop people sitting near each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, this is what I'm hoping to. I've applied for the Awesome Liverpool Fund to try and make a couple of benches.
Okay.
One near you guys, it does, just because you said that you needed needed one. And then the one where I was struggling to sit at Wavertree Station. So fingers crossed, we can add some maybe in a few months, but I don't know. We'll see if I
Is
can.
it an online one this time, or is it? How are they doing it this time?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm assuming it'll be over Zoom or something like that. But
Yeah.
um,
Oh, make sure you tell us all when it is so we can vote for that then.
oh, yeah.
You don't get to vote, though, do you? Isn't it the awesome trustees who get to choose?
Oh, it's not like that. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how they're doing the soup one actually, because obviously it relies on people going, doesn't it? But yeah, no, it's the awesome one. So
Okay. Yeah. The soup one, there was an online one, wasn't there? But I forgot which day it was on and didn't see it, but yeah.
yeah, no, I didn't go to that one, but yeah, at least it's still going on. But yeah, so hopefully we'll be able to add a couple of long social distancing benches in around the fabric district somewhere.
Excellent.
Cool. So yeah, once you've worked out what tag you're interested in, so we should go back to bicycle parking because that's what I'm doing, and yeah, got some data. Then we just need to read that blog post that I found and work out how to turn this Overpass Turbo query into the thing for UMAP. So let me just zoom in for that a little bit. So we get right. Let's just have a look. So I suppose what I should probably do is put a link to that blog post just so that everybody else gets to have a look at that as well. Because the next step is probably going to be cut and paste this long, slightly weird looking URL.
Okay, so what step is that? 5C.
Yeah, 5C.
Look, hopefully it loads. Oh yes, it did.
So, like, I'm going to take that, and then I need to change it a bit because basically, like, there's a bit in I suppose this data equals bit is what's going to get changed. So at the moment, it's looking for, okay, there's node, but also ways. I don't know if we need to look at ways. Let me just kind of, so nodes and ways are different things in OpenStreetMap. Basically, a node is a single point, which is probably what most of these things are going to be. And ways are like a line of, a number of connected points, I suppose. So like a road will be a way. Probably also, given that this is doing it for pub, presumably a building becomes a way that kind of starts and ends at the same point, so it's kind of an enclosed area. And it's probably not going to hurt to do a search for way being amenity equals that as well. I mean, I'm just wonder what happens.
So shall I change? So I've copied and pasted it just on a sticky note here.
Mm-hmm.
So do I need to change the pub that's in like quotation marks into bench then?
Yes, basically.
Okay, perfect.
So if we go back into UMAP and go to the remote data, and then in the URL field we paste in that long complicated load of stuff, and
So I've just changed 2. So there was 2 amenity equals. Oh no, there's 3. So I need to change 3 pubs into bench.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Okay, yeah, there's relations as well, which I can't remember exactly what relations are. They're another kind of OpenStreetMap concept, which, yeah.
And then
so
I'm copy and pasting that into the URL bit.
yes.
Fingers crossed.
Indeed,
Do I need
I'm also doing the same thing.
anything else?
Physical parking. There is another step we need. So once you've done that, and I suppose just whilst we're talking about the URL, is you've got these kind of weird curly brace south, comma west, comma north, comma east things, and that's what UMap uses to know which bit of the map you're looking at. So basically, it shows the kind of southernmost point of the viewport you've got onto the map, I suppose, like the kind of the window you're looking in, and the westernmost point and the northernmost point and the easternmost point, so that Overpass Turbo won't give you all of the benches in the world. It will just give you the benches that are within those 4 areas. But because we're doing it as these sort of magical kind of curly brace south, west, east, like northeast, UMap,
Limit.
well,
Yeah.
UMap will replace it with whatever you're viewing, which means that if you scroll around on the map, it will just keep loading more data in as you view a different bit of the world. So you get to see, and so it should mean that the map will work for the entire globe
Okay.
once we've built it, but it won't be really like if you were going to ask Overpass Turbo to go and find all of the benches in the world and give them to you, and then you were going to work out which ones needed to be shown, that would take quite a while, because Overpass Turbo needs to go and find all of the benches, whereas we're kind of going, give me the benches that are in this bit around Liverpool, and it will go and find them and go, yeah, here you go, there's these 50 or whatever it is, and then they'll get shown. And then if you drag the map over to kind of, you know, Manchester or somewhere, then it will be like, oh, okay, I'll need to go and ask for the benches in Manchester, and it'll go
So
and
if
get.
I just zoomed out on Overpass Turbo, you know, if I was to
Oh, yeah.
just extending it, would
Mhm.
that work as well?
Yes, it would. It
Yeah.
might. I don't know whether when it gets to a certain zoom level, it might stop doing that just because it's going to give you too much data. I'm not sure. It'd be kind of, yeah, but you could try it and see
Maybe
whether.
tester. Yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing you need to do in this remote data section, there's at least one other thing. Just reading through that blog post, and okay, yeah, there's 2 more things. So, or at least 2 more things. So, the data format you should choose from the drop down and choose OSM for OpenStreetMap.
Yeah.
And then there's the from zoom and the to zoom, which are basically ways of limiting it so that you don't show too much data, and it will take too long and probably time out and not give you any data. So if you're on too high a zoom level, which if you look in the map you've got, if you're on the UMap view, the URL at the top of the UMap one, which will be like umap.openstreetmap.fr/en/map/name of your map and some number and then a hash, and then mine is 14/53.4055/2. So the 14 is the zoom level at that point, so whatever number that is will be what level of zoom you're in, and then it's a slash, and then latitude, and then slash, and then longitude. I think it's that. I can never remember which way around latitude and longitude are.
So I haven't got that.
Haven't
I don't know why. Or do I just need to save what I've just done?
Yeah, you won't need to. Mostly, you don't necessarily need to worry about it. It's just working out what zoom levels make sense. As I flip to that.
Yeah, I've just got so bench to bench and then numbers, but I've not got the hash and then the rest.
Oh,
for some
okay,
reason.
interesting. I wonder if that's because you haven't moved the map since you saved where its center point was, and so it's still just on its like this is the default view.
Yeah, that would make sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it? Yeah.
But so basically, let me zoom out a bit and see. Okay, so a lower zoom level is like further away from the world, like higher up in the sky that you're looking down on it from. So we probably, thinking about it, we probably don't want to show any bike parking below, maybe below Zoom 12 or something. Yeah, so I'm going to say from Zoom 12, so that it will do, it won't just keep trying to load all of the bike parking in the country if I zoom out too far. And to Zoom I'm going to leave not worry about things, and then there's a dynamic sort of toggle, so you then toggle that to be on.
Perfect.
I don't think we need to proxy the request. Let me just go and have a look and see if this says anything about that. No. So yeah, I think if you then let me see, close that layer, is that going to do things, and then save the whole map. Let me see. Well, that hasn't shown me any bike parking yet,
No, it hasn't for me either.
but I think that's because we're editing it. I'm not 100% sure. So let me just copy that URL, and then if I open a new private window, so I'm not logged in on UMap anymore and I'm just a visitor, and go to the cycle parking, and then I can not see any cycle parking. Yay!
No.
Okay, so this does not seem to be working at the moment. Why is that not working? Okay, let's go back in. There'll be something we've missed from the data, so let me go back into my bike parking, remote data. Let me see, maybe I do need to proxy it, and let's just see what happens if I save that.
Is it the type of layer? I know that there's just default clustered or heat map, but
Ah, okay, yeah. Don't know. You could
I'll
try
try it.
try that on yours and see what happens.
No.
Whilst I try the. No, there's a problem in the response. Okay. Maybe my overpass turbo stuff isn't quite right.
No, I've tried both of the different types of layers, and it's none of them have worked.
Okay. Remote data. Okay. OpenStreetMap. Dynamic. And then. Right. Let me. Let me know that it's typed properly and maybe Terminator font terminal. Actually, that's not doing a terminal, it's doing a web browser. I'm sorry. Paste that overpass turbo. Okay. Well, yeah, that's possibly why it's not working. What does this not like? Introducing. Yeah. Okay. So there's definitely something we're doing wrong. not happy with that query. Actually, let's try, instead of doing it all on this in the URL, which is tricky to, because obviously all of the errors I'm getting are just line 1 because everything's on one line. I'm going to go back into Overpass Turbo, and then I'm going to paste in that URL, and then I'm going to delete the API bit at the start and down to the data, and see if I can't split this up. It's possibly not going to work because it's not going to have north, south, east, etc. Let me see. Out body. Yeah, let me just try running this query, and it's going to complain lots. Yes. But it is complaining in similar ways to the. I got a. It was key expected, and it found a quotes and found. Where was I going to? Key expected found quotes. I think this could be the display stuff being clever, and I think it's because these are smart quotes, not just straight quotes, which is going to be something, doing some kind of automating in the middle of when they're writing that blog post and making it look nice, that's actually screwing everything up. At least that's my current theory. And when I finish replacing all these smart quotes with normal quotes,
I will see what you
like,
mean, right?
yeah, sorry, it's just the thing, yeah, not really explain what smart quotes are, but yeah, the kind of like
Just like,
slightly angled kind of 66 is 99 is sort of almost, rather than just shift
Got
2.
you.
Like,
how can I not find these
Ooh.
straight ones, the angle ones?
the straight ones should be shift 2. Like, it's probably harder to
right.
find the angled ones than it is the straight ones.
Yeah, it just looks the same,
Right.
but it must be slightly different. It's just because I'm on this sticky notes and it does look the same, but it mustn't be.
Yeah.
So
And I guess I could see it a little bit in once I'd pulled this in, because like in Overpass Turbo, when I'm changing them, like at the moment they're all one. I suppose it's the fact that it complained about the quotes. It was
Right.
the clue, like
Yeah.
the fact that that first error was like, I was expecting a key and I found some quotes, and I suppose partly because I'm a coder and I know that computers are really picky.
Yeah.
Like, they'll look at that and just be like, that's not the quotes that I'm expecting, so sorry, I'm not going to carry on.
I'm not dealing with that.
Yeah. So that's
Okay.
why I was kind of like, that might be the problem. And then I think that might have fixed things. And like, I'm still getting errors, but I'm getting different errors now. But that's like basically part unknown query clause. I think that is now the southwest, northeast stuff showing up.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back into my, one line, just posting the URL that we're using into the top here, and I'm going to go and fix the smart quotes in here and see if that fixes this. It's not going to at all, this agent. You're an idiot, because it's still going to ask for southwest, northeast, which are things that UMAP is going to replace for us. So yeah, actually maybe what I should do is jump back into UMAP and try it in UMAP, because that will do. I've
just copied and pasted with the just the straight quotes, and it doesn't seem to be working still.
Okay, damn.
But I don't know. if it is. Oh, hold on. No, I missed one. Damn.
Yeah, computers are also really picky like that, where you have to get all of them.
No, literally one. I think there was one. Damn. Okay, fingers crossed. No, still not working.
Okay, well, let me.
That could possibly just be me though if I've missed one or something.
Well, we'll see if I've. Yeah, like I'm almost at that point where I've got my quotes all updated. I think yes. So let me close that and save it. Ooh, problem in the response. So yeah, no, I think you're right. I'm also not getting the data coming in properly. So the next thing to try will be to go in and replace this south, west, north and east with something sensible. There was a bounding box thing, wasn't there? What was, I did make a, okay, do double quotes, BB. Okay.
Yeah, because it says on that thing, doesn't it, replace the hard-coded latitude and latitude and longitude coordinates with da-da-da-da
Yeah.
without points. Oh,
So
but it's
let me-
all fixed at the bottom, isn't it, on C, so...
Okay, well I've got one fewer error now that I've got rid of that southwest, north and east bit. So yeah, I suppose this is working out. I suppose getting to a point where we can run the query correctly on Overpass Turbo, and then I can work out how we can turn that into a URL, and then we can work out how to put it into. Okay, so that replacing the south, west, north, and east stuff with bbox has fixed it on Overpass Turbo. However, that's not going to fix it on UMAP.
So what does the bbox thing do?
So-
Is that just telling it to look at the area that you...
Yeah, so that's
Current-
bounding box is what that's shorthand for. So it's basically saying like do the query for the area that's visible on the map, like the
Got
bounding
you.
box of the map. So I keep managing to zoom in and things.
But that won't work in the UMAP.
I mean, it's a good question. Like, I don't know. Like, we could try it and see if it does anything.
No, anything with south, west, north, whatever it is, put bbox.
Yeah. Like, I have a feeling that's not going to work, because otherwise because that would have been shorter for the map immersive people to have written as a thing.
Yeah.
What does dynamic do? Fetch data each time the map view changes. Okay, that's kind of useful, but not. I wonder if there's help for UMAP. So let's just do a search for UMAP remote data. Let's see if that's going to basic UMAP parameters maybe. Oh, this is a different UMAP. Haha. That's not the UMAP I wanted. Okay, let's not worry about that just a minute. Let's go and see. I mean, the other thing that I'm noticing that's different is that the bbox stuff has got double curly braces, whereas the one on with our southwest, east, etc. only had single curly braces. So I wonder if that is causing problems.
it's like all these little things, isn't it, that you have to. I mean, you know more than me as a coder, but you have to have like the eyes for it
Yeah,
to pick these little things out, don't you?
totally. And it is like, and I suppose this is partly why I quite like showing this, you know, because otherwise I'd have gone and worked out what all this was, and then I'd have just been like, yeah, just do this, and it would be like, oh
Yeah.
look, it all works. Which is, you know, there's definitely some I can understand why people would want that, because at the moment, like, we're possibly not going to end up with a map that works, because at the minute we haven't got a map that works. But in showing, you know, this is what coding is like. At times, it's like trying stuff out and it not quite working, and then kind of going, okay, what do I need to go and change? And
You have to sort of train your eyes, don't you, to pick up on these things like the quotation marks and the different brackets and stuff like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and sometimes I like because I mean it might not be these double curly braces, but and sometimes it is just. I mean, yeah, mostly when you work out how to write code, and like coding isn't always like this, but there are definitely times when these sorts of things are part of the process. Yeah, it's still
I think
not happy.
especially when you sort of copy and paste it and having to change it as well, it's like you've not written it yourself, have you? So you've got
Yeah.
to, yeah.
Because that's like, because the overpass table is mostly working. It's just the northeast. So, like, I suppose the next thing I'm going to try is, like, what order were they in? It was. Go and find the layer again. Remote data, and there's the URL. And
Southwest, northeast.
southwest, northeast, yeah. Overpass turbo. So south would be 53. West is what's our? See, there we go. Now move it. It's minus 2.99. So if I minus 2. Well, actually minus 3. Southwest, northeast, and then so 53.5, and minus 2.9. So what happens if I run that? Is that going to find me? Yes, so that is going to work. And actually, let me just delete these for a second, just so that I can just run that. Yeah, so that is still finding. So if we can work out how to put the south, west, north, and east in, then we do get some data points.
So where did you get the southwest, north, and east?
So I got them from mostly I was just looking at the UMap bit where, like, I had it where it wasn't showing me those things at the end, and so if I drag it around, it'll update the URL to show me the. So I was just kind of going, okay, that's the north and south is 53 point something, and the east and west is minus 2.9 something.
Yeah.
So I'll just do some stuff that's definitely going to give me a bigger area than just Liverpool, but is then enough that it will show the stuff will show up in Liverpool, so I can check that I have managed to do the query correctly.
I'm assuming that's in the right order, as in south. It's weird for me because I always think north, east, south, west.
Yeah,
Never
I
even
like.
did we know. It's
The-
messing up my head.
Yeah, likewise. So yeah,
So
like
it should
that.
be in that order.
I assume so. I mean, I guess we
Oh,
could find.
yeah, yeah.
We could find out by doing 53.5 to 53 and see what happens.
Okay.
Ah, see, there we go. And so it doesn't like, yeah. So it's telling me if I try and do it the wrong way around.
Work.
Which is another thing you can do in code. You know, you can always just try it out and see, and you know, learn things that way. So the bit that we need to do is work out how we get, like, how is UMAP not putting them in the right place? Yes. Where's that? Let me edit this map. Go in, edit bike parking, and remote data. And then...
Okay, so the first number, so at the moment I've got 12 slash, so that's the zoom level, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I don't need that at the moment.
No.
So it's 53 point something and then minus 2 point something, so those the... Where do they need to go then? Sorry.
Well, so, and I guess actually that's true, that's a good point. You could, yeah, like, so, yeah, you could work these things out, couldn't you? Yeah, that's a, like, yeah, good thinking around it. And so you'll be able to, yeah, we can do that, which will build a map of Liverpool. Or you could work out roughly where, you know, you could make it the northwest or something. So they would need to replace south, west, north, and so the bits where you've got like curly brace, south curly brace, you would replace that with the kind of latitude of the southernmost bit of where you might want to look for benches.
Yeah, so I've got the latitude and longitude, so how do I put that into the southwest, northeast?
So you could just delete the word, like delete the open curly brace, south close curly brace, not delete, or you replace it with 53.
Yeah, sorry, I was...
in the URL on the remote data thing, and you'd need to do it in the 3 different points that it has. South,
So
like,
do I need to put the exact, because obviously it's like 53 point and then 4 numbers.
well, what you'd want to do is you'd want, because this is going to hard code it to just look for the data for one particular area. So
Yeah.
you'd want to make it like far enough south that it's going to cover all of...
Rounded, basically.
Yeah, just round it down, and you don't need to worry too much about it because it's just like it seems to find things in Overpass Turbo fairly quickly, so it's not like it's going to take forever to load. Like when I was in the bike parking one, I just had 53 and 53.5. Like I don't know where 53. I suppose we could go. The other thing you can do if you want to go and find out where these places are is you could change the URL that's you've got on your OpenStreetMap one. And so we can do 53.5 and that will then center the map. It didn't seem to... oh, I need to put another slash in it because I was typing it wrong. 53.5, and so yeah, 53.5 is quite far, like reasonably far north. Like it's not super far north. If I zoom out a bit, where's that? Yeah, it's kind of just north of Crosby. So I guess if you wanted it to cover...
I just need them 2 numbers, don't I?
Yeah.
Like I don't... Yeah, it's just the latitude and longitude, cool. So I've got, in the brackets, just the rounded brackets, 53, comma, minus 2, is that right?
Yes, yeah, in the rounded... well, you want 4 numbers in total because you need like the southernmost point of the area that you want, and then the westernmost point of the area, and then so like the latitude of the southernmost point. So, and if it's 53, where does that put us? That's probably quite far south, but yeah, it's not going to matter because if as long as it's bigger than the area you want, then you'll get all the data. So yeah, like 50, 53. No, that can't be right. Oh, okay, maybe it is right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, 53 is like south of Wrexham. So so that's definitely south, far enough south to cover. And 53 point. And you might want it to be more than -3 for your westernmost, because that seems to be about Birkenhead.
Okay.
So you might want to make it like -3.2 or something, maybe. Where's that going to get you?
That's
Yeah.
my next set of numbers, isn't it? So it's 53, comma, -3.2,
Yeah.
and I need the other two numbers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So where are you finding this from? The view map? Sorry.
yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm just typing, so you know that the UMAP has the zoom level / latitude
Yeah.
/ longitude. I'm just typing new
Yeah.
numbers into that URL and then hitting enter,
Oh, I see.
and it just moves my map to have that as the center point.
Right.
And so
you.
I can basically just type in like -3.2 and hit return, and then kind of go, okay, well the center, that seems to be somewhere in the kind of D estuary.
Yeah.
So that's probably far enough west. And yeah, when I was trying earlier to do 53.5 and working out that was Crosby, it's like, well, you might want a bit further north than that. So 53.6, 53.7, like where does that get you? Like
So it's just sort of
trial and error,
figuring it
basically.
out, basically.
Guessing and trial and error.
Perfect.
That's
So
what, yeah.
I think, right, so I'm up to, I just need the most easterly point now, and then I should have all my numbers together.
Okay, cool. So what was
So
-2.9? How far across does that get? Not quite as far as Ormskirk. So you might want -2.8, maybe.
I'll give that a go, see what happens.
-2.8 is like Burscough, and bigger. So that probably puts you into St Helens.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe not quite into St Helens. Actually, heightened.
yeah,
So
yeah, that's what I've got at the moment, actually, yeah. Perfect, right, I'll
So-
copy.
you may want to make it a bit, yeah. And I guess you can experiment with those, and hopefully. So, like, the reason that it had these curly braces southwest northeast is that UMAP should fill those numbers in for you. Like, that's what those
Yeah.
curly braces are for, is to kind of tell UMAP to put the right things in, and it isn't. And I don't, yeah, like, I suppose I'm going to try and, on the bike parking one at least, I'm going to continue trying to work out why I can't get that to work. And if I get, assuming I do get that working, then I can let you know, and then you can update yours.
Yeah,
And then yours will be then a global map, whereas at the moment, although you'll be able to obviously just drag and zoom the map to wherever you like, you're only going to get data for within these 4 numbers that you're typing in at the moment.
yeah, I've just copied and pasted it in and it's not worked, so I don't know. If I copy and paste it in the chat and then you can
Yeah,
do
that's
the
a good.
code eyes and see if there's anything I've done wrong.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a plan.
Because I might have put like extra brackets in or something, I don't know. I've just noticed that.
Right.
Or maybe not enough.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Oh
fine.
yeah, because it's not connected there.
Aha. So yeah, you've placed this into the chat. I don't know if it. Well. So.
Some of it's a link and then it just isn't a link then. So it must
Yeah. I wonder if
missing a-
that's.
be or something.
Well, it could be the space, and that mightn't be a problem. It might be a problem though. So. Yeah, maybe worth getting rid of those spaces between the comma and the number.
Yeah.
Like, it probably won't matter, but it might do. That's why the chat doesn't think that it's all a link, because the chat's basically
Yeah,
gone as
yeah.
far as the space and then gone like, oh, this won't be the link anymore. But
Which
I don't
can
know.
be, actually that's been handy to just be able to see it like that.
Yeah,
Just using the different tools to try and figure it out.
Yes. So let me just cut and paste that.
No, still not working.
Terminal preferences. Text. I'll make my font bigger. Actually, can I just do? There we go. So what have we got on your thing? We've got. So that's.
I may have actually got the direction the wrong way round. I'm hoping not.
So that one's the most southerly and the most. No, I think they're the right way around because the latitude as you get further north goes because it's like distance from numbers from the equator. So that's like 53 will be the southernmost, and 53.7 will be further north. And then longitude is from the Greenwich Meridian in London, and coming this way is negative. So if you want to go further west, you're going to end up with a bigger number than if you're to the east. So they both look okay. Yeah, the space is the only thing that start bit that looks like it might. You've still got one smart quote.
Them blooming quotes. I could see it on there better. Maybe that's what I need to do. Yeah. Because I'm using sticky notes, which is just not obviously the best thing to use.
Still didn't work on mine, but
okay.
Right, I'm gonna give that a go. That's really annoying. You just have to nitpick it, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay, that works.
Very
No,
much so.
okay.
Let me see if I can copy. Close that for a second. We'll create a new layer on this one called benches. Remote data URL. It's OpenStreetMap data. It's dynamic. Close that. Save it. What? Why is it logged me out? Oh. Authorize that. There we go. Saved. Let me see what is like that. No, that's still not happy, and it's still not giving me any benches.
So it works on, well, yours worked on the overpass, didn't it?
Yeah.
So, but has yours not worked in the UMAP?
That is correct. It does not work in UMAP. Actually, that's a good point though. I could cut and paste your URL into UMAP and see. Not into UMAP, sorry, into Overpass Turbo, and see.
Yeah, I knew what you meant.
And
different names.
Yeah. So we've got amenity equals bench, blah 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 blah. Got the ways, and I don't think that any of this kind of putting stuff on different lines matters for running the query, but I think it well, I'm doing it because it will then tell me different line numbers if it doesn't go right. Okay, so line 10 it doesn't like. What was it not like about the way? Aha, there's a double quote, double brackets. Yeah. Sorry,
Oh, right.
You did ask about this, and I looked at it and went, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so it's
There we go. That has worked. So I think it's the double brackets.
But
on
it might not work in the UMap.
it might
anyway.
not, but there is at least that definite bug that we have found.
Okay, so it's just the double round brackets.
Yes. So only
Okay.
your node
So,
one is okay, but your way and your relation both had double round brackets, and they should be single round brackets.
I mean, if you could copy and paste back, just in case I've
Oh
edited
yeah.
it wrong on my nifty
Yes.
tab.
Yeah. Let me just get rid of these and put it all back onto one line. But there is, and then I need to work out what the bit that goes in front of it is, which is this data equals. So copy that and paste that into there. So then paste that into the chat for you. So I think
Brilliant, thank you.
that is what you need. I'm just going to go and look at my version of your data layer on my UMap.
Yeah, it's still not worked, but at least I know that it's the right code and it's saved in the UMap. So
Yeah, that's strange if it
Yeah.
hasn't worked. Let's save that. Yeah, it hasn't worked on mine as well. That's really annoying. Let's not open another tab with it. Let me just one thing that I haven't. Are you proxying the request at all? I'm guessing probably not. Yeah, it's still, well, it's hard to tell with my errors that I'm getting because there could be errors in my bike parking one.
I don't actually get that red block that says it's an error. I just say map updated, but I don't know.
Right, okay.
But it's still not working anyway, so no good with it.
It's not. It's super frustrating because yeah, this should be working now. Like we should have a nice dynamic map. We should have had one like, you know, like 20 minutes ago or
Show
something.
what? Maybe it's in this sort of advanced section or something. Don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe
okay.
I'm just
Do we know where any? Oh, we do know. We know that there's loads of benches in the area, don't we? Because they showed up on Overpass. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That one outside Lime Street, 60 people.
That would show up. Yeah.
I love that. It's so funny, isn't it? Like, whose works that out, or is it just like a part of the sort of design of it? I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's super frustrating at the minute. I'm wondering whether it's worth, given that we've hit 4 o'clock, and I'd said that we'd only run till 4 o'clock. I mean, I'm not. I don't mind playing around with it some more, but I'm wondering. I suppose I'm just noting the fact that we've got to when I said it was going to finish.
I mean, you know what? I've made a map. It's just actually getting that data, isn't it? So, I mean,
Well-
if you're happy to email over, or you know, if you figure it out, or if I figure it out, I doubt that'll happen, but you never know. I'd be happy to carry on, you know, another day maybe.
Yeah, we can. I mean, I'm like I don't mind chipping away a bit more now. So I'm probably going to
Okay.
play. But I suppose what I was wondering is whether it's worth sort of switching task briefly. I mean, and it might be because sometimes that works in a kind of go away and do something else, and your subconscious can kind of think about other things, other straws you can clutch at in trying to work out how to pull the data in. But what I haven't shown you yet is how you add new benches to OpenStreetMap.
Oh yeah, okay.
So I'm thinking it might be worth sort of parking this briefly, or maybe not briefly, but we'll see, and show you how to add more data in, or how anybody can add more data to OpenStreetMap, so that when we do get the map bit working, there'll be more benches to show up.
I guess we can go off the sort of overpass and what they've got on there at the moment. I'm trying to think if that.
Yeah.
Maybe I should look
Because
if there is one that I need to add.
I expect, like, yeah. See, I'm already kind of coming up with like, oh, we could try like other things to think of to try and sort this problem out, but yeah.
I mean,
like,
I know that there is one. It's probably. I know. Is it on here? Trying to get to grips with where I am. Where am I? Cathedral. Yeah, so I know that there's definitely one outside one of the uni buildings.
Right.
Which is on Overpass Turbo. At least I think it's still there. I did graduate last year, so it could have been demolished.
Okay. Well, I can show. I know where there are definitely some bike parking stands.
Oh yeah.
That that aren't in OpenStreetMap yet. So I can go and add them, and then, as you've seen, the tags are fairly simple. So you'll just, I'll show it for doing bicycle parking, and then you can replace that with bench to add benches. So actually, what I will do quickly is Google for OpenStreetMap bicycle parking tag, and just remind myself of what the bicycle parking tag looks like. So there's a whole bunch of things. Bike parking, and mostly I don't really need to care about all of those sorts of things. I think I don't think there's a cycle streets idea. Maximum stay. Wow, the bicycle parking with things like that. Crazy. Okay, yeah, I don't think any of those tags particularly are going to apply to the bikes loops that I'm adding, but yeah, so let's go back to OpenStreetMap, and I'll zoom in a bit so that you can hopefully see things, and I know that there's some bike parking just outside the Tapestry where Does Liverpool is, in the Fabric District. And I am pretty sure that it is not on OpenStreetMap yet. So let me just remind myself of where abouts. There's Kempston Street and Stafford Street. No, it's further up Stafford Street, isn't it? Yes, that's why it's looking weird. So yeah, this is the Tapestry building, and actually I think if I switch to the standard OpenStreetMap layer, yes, then we can see that Does Liverpool is mapped on OpenStreetMap. And recently, like, it's not that recently now, it's probably about maybe not quite a year ago, but like within the past year, the council has put 2 Sheffield stands over here and another one over here for bike parking. And if I query the features, we'll see, I'm sure, that there's a building and there's some roads, but there isn't anything else around there. So once you've got an OpenStreetMap account, which is free to sign up for if you can make it to the OpenStreetMap website, which hopefully at some point, Bernadette, you'll be able to do.
Hopefully, yeah. I'll keep trying.
Then
It's on mine. I was able to do it.
right,
So,
cool. So you can go and look around on the map, and if you find an area where you want to add some things, there is just an edit button, and you can click edit, and that's
It's working now.
Oh, excellent.
Sorry, just to update you. I was just excited then because it actually it loaded.
Cool.
But yeah, cool.
And so this is loading the. There are a bunch of different ways of editing OpenStreetMap, but this is the easiest, and it just runs in the web browser. And so you end up with this view, and like hovering over stuff kind of shows you some details of the buildings, and so that building, I wonder how we can turn it all into the tapestry, because we kind of need to merge those two together because they are both the tapestry, but let's not get sidelined on that at the moment. And so what we're going to do is add some, adding a point at this point, because the bike parking won't be an area, we won't be drawing a zone to put bike parking into, and similarly for the benches, I think they're going to be points. So if I click on point, I can then click, there's definitely one on the road, or just kind of on the pavement just there.
So it gives you options already.
So yeah, it's already kind of giving you a whole bunch of like, these are things that you might want to do. So I think if I just start typing, yeah, bicycle parking.
Cool.
So there's bicycle parking, type, I've got a drop down, and it's stands. Like the capacity is an interesting one, because I'm like, there's one Sheffield stand, so I suppose that's a capacity of 2, isn't it? Because you can put like one bike either side of the Sheffield stand. It
That's
isn't.
quite handy that you can sort of like search what's already there, so it like makes it universal, so that you're not just adding something random.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, nice.
Dear, I need to learn how to drink properly, it seems. So yeah, there isn't an operator. And I don't think the allowed access, there isn't a fee. And so
Cool, yeah.
you can then add additional tags in, so you could create new tags for your own. I suppose, I don't know if there's an inscription tag for benches. There didn't seem to be in the wiki, did there? But you could, in theory, add a description, an inscription tag for your bench, and then type what was on it or something like that.
Yeah.
And so you see at the bottom here, it's basically filling in the tags from this kind of form, I suppose, that I've filled in higher up. That just shows us all the details. And so that is that feature done.
Wow.
And so I can do another point, and just over here, there again, and I suppose it's offering bicycle parking as an option because I've done that recently. And I can go and fill in the details again for that, and this is also stands. But there are 2 of those, so I guess I'll just map that as 1 point, but say that it's got a capacity of 4. It's not covered, and you don't pay for it. And so yeah, so that's another bike park added. And
If there was something that you were adding that was like quite a unique thing, say it was like a sculpture or, you know, like a one-off thing, how, like, could you add a tag? You know, like, obviously you've just been able to search bicycle parking.
Yeah.
You technically add more, you know, so that if
So I
other people
can something weird. Oh, it's not letting me. Okay, it's not letting me add that as a field there, but I can go down and add tag here and pick something weird. Something or other. And so I could do that and add a new and kind of create new tags, and that is sort of how tags get created in some ways on OpenStreetMap. There is also a tagging mailing list because people generally kind of have a bit of a conversation about what makes sense to add as things, and I suppose new kind of values for existing tags is probably a thing where there's a bit less to worry about when you're adding stuff, rather than just creating new tags. But yeah, people, that is how things get created. All of these other ones will be people starting off adding these sorts of things, and then kind of coming to some consensus. There isn't a kind of fixed authority that says these are the right tags, but there is a kind of, the community, I suppose, is that authority. So generally they'll do that, and it's also, I suppose, like Wikipedia and things, it's like somebody else can come along at a later date and delete your tag if they think that it doesn't make sense or shouldn't apply, or those sorts of things. So I shall just delete that new one that I've created because I don't want to do that. I mean there's probably sculpture. Is that sculpture a thing? No, it doesn't seem to be. I'm trying to think what, like there will be tags to cover sculptures and stuff, so I suppose what you could potentially do is add that as a separate point that's next to the bench.
Got you, yeah.
Because there would be a bench and also a sculpture. I don't know. I'm not completely sure what would make the most sense as to whether, or because if it's like a sculpture you can sit on, then arguably that's one thing, really, isn't it, rather than two? So you could ask on the tagging mailing list.
In terms of like if you were to do, say, like a trail, you know, and then people had access to this map, you know, if I could make it on UMap, hopefully we will be able to do that. But say if there was stuff like, you know, sculptures or whatever, but I guess that's separate, isn't it, because it's on the UMap. Never mind, sorry, I'm just thinking.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, I think you probably wouldn't include like the trail sort of data. I don't think you'd put into OpenStreetMap. I mean, it's a bit of a kind of grey area, I suppose, when you're getting into that. And you can.
You'd have to do it as a separate thing, wouldn't you, really, so that it didn't like interfere with anything else.
I mean, you do at times get things like there are sometimes tags into other data sets. So a good example of that is the sort of food hygiene ratings for restaurants, because that's an open data set that the I can't remember what agency it is now, but the government on some level kind of go and rate, or the council go and rate all of the restaurants and takeaways and things like that, and give them a food rating, and as part of that they end up with an ID number for the reference into that data set that the council holds. And there are it's not complete, but there are times when people will add that as a tag to the thing on OpenStreetMap, so that if you go to OpenStreetMap, you can then, or like the software can go and automatically look it up in the council's data set and could tell you like what the food hygiene rating is.
Yeah, yeah.
So have you had a set of information that you wanted, like these restaurants belong to this group or something like that? That's your sort of private information. How do you sort of connect that to to tag?
Yeah.
You're still going to tag restaurants. What do you do then?
I mean, if it's for those ones, I think. Yeah.
Well, restaurants I've been to or something. Yeah. That's
Yeah. I'm just thinking about how because that's the sort of stuff that wouldn't live in OpenStreetMap. I don't think, because this is stuff that's supposed to be globally useful. You could use like OpenStreetMap will give everything a particular point, so you could do it the other way around, I suppose, where you could tag you could in your data set you could store the OpenStreetMap ID that kind of tagged which particular item it was, to kind of have the relation go that way, if you see what I mean, rather than it storing your information in OpenStreetMap. You'd probably need to build a slightly different website, or I don't know exactly how you'd fold that into UMap. There'd be a way of doing it with the remote data, but you might need to build your own little bit of kind of glue code or whatever that was going to pull in your data, go and gather the stuff from OpenStreetMap, because it might be useful, I suppose. Like the lat long is the sort of thing that you probably could store in your data set, but you might not store like the website and the opening hours or sort of things like that, and that kind of information does get stored in OpenStreetMap. And so you could have a thing where you wrote a little bit of software that went and queried Overpass Turbo for specific OpenStreetMap IDs to gather that kind of additional data, like the opening hours, the name, stuff like that, and then kind of combined it with yours and served it up to UMap, so that UMap did the displaying of it, and you just had a bit of code in the middle that kind of merged your database with the OpenStreetMap one. So yeah, probably something like that. If you're getting more advanced, then you might not use UMap. You might just use something like leaflet.js that Neil was talking about earlier, and that's what I use for the 15-minute city website. So yeah, but then you're getting into like, you have to do some coding. It's not necessarily super complicated, but you're then into like building a website rather than pulling some stuff together. So the final step of adding stuff to OpenStreetMap, once you've added your thing, you can see that it's got 2 items up that it knows about, because there's these 2 points that I've added, and so you can just click save, and then it asks you for a change set comment, and so this is just like a little description of what you've been doing, so that if anybody else is looking at the changes that you've made, they can kind of work out why you are making the changes. So in this one, I'm just adding new cycle parking that the council installed recently, and you can also say if you want somebody else to kind of look it over before it goes live. I think I'm going to be okay with this stuff just going straight into OpenStreetMap, so I should be able to click on upload. And that should, although the spinner's not very, there we go, is it maybe going to send some stuff? So that will hopefully have added those points to OpenStreetMap. I don't know.
It's relatively easy to do, but you might get chucked off potentially. Other people that are like, oh no, that's no good, get it off. Or is it more of? There are a bit. There are definitely
members of the community who are a bit like, you're doing it wrong, when mostly you're just new and nobody's told you how to do it right. But at the same time, there's like lots of stuff getting added and changed and things, so they're not necessarily going to notice.
Yeah.
And it can always be changed so that we can, so you can update it.
Perfect.
I'm just wondering whether.
Oh yeah, they're there. I can see them now.
Okay, cool. They already shown up in Overpass Turbo
Yeah.
then. Excellent.
Yep. Oh no, just in open. Yeah, just in the standard one.
A standard
In the
OpenStreetMap.
Yeah, that I was looking at.
Are you editing it, or do they just show up in?
Maybe I'm editing it. Yeah.
Because they don't show up. Well, they haven't. Yeah, I don't know how quickly the map gets updated with, and I don't know.
I refreshed it and then they showed up. Yes. So.
Are you in the edit option, or are you in?
I was in the edit option. Yeah.
Okay, right, yeah. So I don't know how quickly. I don't know if bike parking shows up in the standard map. It might not. And,
Cycle parking.
I don't know how quickly the stuff shows. It shows up fairly quickly. It used to be that you'd make some changes to OpenStreetMap and it might take a couple of days before it showed up on the map. And these days it's much faster than that. But it might take a little while for the servers to get round to rebuilding that bit of the world, because mostly they build all the tiles separately so they can then send them out to whoever's viewing the website. But it will show up fairly quickly if you make any changes to any of the things that show up on the standard map. And obviously, as you've seen, Jackie, the data itself kind of gets updated pretty much straight away.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, if I manage to set up an account on the OpenStreetMap, if I search for benches and then fill in the gaps where I know that there are some, and then that should come on the Overpass Turbo.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, it should
And
do.
then I can copy the data over once we've figured out how to do that into the UMap.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's really frustrating that these aren't showing up yet. I'm going to see if I can see. Okay, status 500. Interesting. So let me reload that and watch. So this is, I'm looking at the kind of web console of this web page. So this is showing all of the things that are getting loaded in order to view this web page for me. So there's the first main page, and then some JavaScript gets loaded, and then there's all these tiles. So these are all the actual kind of images that get shown behind, and this is what happens behind the scenes when you drag the map around. Is it just loads a bunch more of these little tiles so it can like fill in the bits that you've just scrolled over onto. And the reason I'm doing this is because somewhere down here it's getting, or it's trying to get, the Overpass Turbo request, and so that's the bench one, and it's getting an internal server error as a response. Which, is there any detail? There isn't any details. There's just oops, server error from okay, but that's from UMap rather than from. Okay, so let me go into here and maybe not proxy it and see what happens. Remote data, it's doing all of that. I'm not going to proxy the request. And so I will save that. And then let's just reload this page and see what happens this time. Okay, so that is blocked. Okay, why is that blocked? Ah, okay, I wonder whether what was that? Yeah, I'm wondering if that's because it's HTTP and we want HTTPS. Because we're on, you can see the web, the map that we're on is HTTPS blah. So it's a secure website, and it probably doesn't want us to load insecure content into a secure page because people won't be expecting that. So let's see what happens if I make it HTTPS. And let's try loading that again and see what happens. Boom!
It worked.
Look,
Yay!
like I'm getting lots of problems in the response, which is because it's failing to load my bike parking layer, but the benches layer.
Oh, it's working on yours. It's not working on mine.
That's because you haven't. Have you typed HTTPS into your remote data
Yeah.
thing? Oh, okay.
HTTPS, yeah.
Are you proxying your request?
Oh. No.
Oh, you're not. Okay, because I'm not. You shouldn't be proxying it. That was
God, I must
that
have
was
something.
failing a different way. Have you clicked save? I don't know whether you'd need to. Like I'd saved it.
Yeah. Don't know what's happened
Can
there,
you
but
paste?
At least it's working on yours.
Well, yeah. Can you paste the URL for yours into like for your umap.openstreetmap.fr/blah blah blah into the chat, and I can try loading it on mine and see if I can spot where it's going wrong.
I think I've altered what I needed to alter, but maybe not. That space thing again.
Well, so actually, yeah. So rather than that's your Overpass Turbo one.
Oh, sorry.
If you post your umap.openstreetmap blah blah blah.
The UMap link. This
Yes, that one. Yeah. Copy link, and so I can go there and try to load it as a visitor, and it's working.
one. Oh, yay!
Cool.
Oh, that's amazing. Solved it.
Yeah.
Like, solved.
So I think it was that S. I wonder if that's what's. I'm gonna just quickly. So one thing you can do. Let's maybe do some additional kind of fit and finish stuff for yours, and then we can go. I'd still like to make it, because at the moment yours is still going to only work for like Liverpool, and a bit further. Actually, maybe not. Maybe. Oh, I suppose it depends. You can see that you've got quite a narrow, like east to west, but quite a long north to south.
How far am I going up there? God.
Yeah, like almost to Preston. So, which I suppose, like, be covering Southport and things, which you might want to do for people in Liverpool.
Yeah.
They might still want to go that far. And kind of down as far as Wrexham.
I could figure out like the actual northwest, like what that actually is.
Yeah.
And then I could say it's the bench to bench map in the northwest rather than a strip like that, whatever that is,
Yeah.
the quarter of the northwest or something.
Yeah. Or maybe you'll just eventually define, like, everyone will start to just refer to that strip of the northwest as like the bench belt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right, got it. Get that down.
Can you turn it to an area? Like there was that Merseyside map that you could download. Can you make it show the features in an area like that?
Sorry, run that past me again.
This is made up of areas. There's like an area called Merseyside in it, or was it called Northwest England or whatever, that I could download to use in that GIS thing.
Oh, okay.
Are those sort of things kept in this so that you can define those as the area that you want to show the benches in?
I'm not sure. I guess, the thing that I, with feels like it would make more sense to me is to try and work out the things so that it just dynamically loads and works out where you're looking at, and then it will work throughout the entire world.
But if there was just
yeah, I don't know, I suppose, is the simple answer, Jackie. Like, there might be, but if yeah,
I don't need to know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
Like round rivers and stuff like that, isn't it? So it'd have to. I mean, I don't know. There must be a way to do it, but yeah, because that would be handy actually. So I could say Merseyside or Cheshire, or and then actually pull it in to certain areas. But yeah,
you can definitely do that with more advanced GIS, because you'll be able to get a shape file is usually what the things are done as. So there will be shape files for OpenStreetMap, like for areas like that. I don't know not sure exactly who would define them. There are definitely ones to get you like the countries and things like that, because the 15-minute city uses that as part of the way that it builds the stuff, because that only knows about the north. Well, it might be the northwest, it might only be Merseyside and a couple of other, it might only be a few counties that it knows in detail.
So could you make on OpenStreetMap that shape that shows Merseyside, and then somehow put that data in as well? As like a like you would a building, but obviously it'd be.
So that sort of stuff is in OpenStreetMap already.
Yeah.
So it does.
Right, like the different areas.
Yeah, because if we look in OpenStreetMap and query the features for here, we'll see that the enclosing features are the city boundary, then Merseyside, and you can't really see that. Like, I'd need to zoom out quite a bit. But if I zoom out far enough, and if I then hover over that, is that going to show me them? It's not doing a very good job of highlighting them, but it does know
the boundaries.
The boundaries. If I zoom in a bit, is this close enough in that it will show me Liverpool? So I'm not not doing a very good job of showing, but it does know that it's in Liverpool, that it's in Merseyside, which isn't a county anymore, I don't think. I can't remember now. And that it used to be in Lancashire, and that it's in the northwest England, and then it's in England and Great Britain and the United Kingdom, and then it's the world, and then it doesn't have any more enclosing features. So you could find those sorts of things out. There will be a place where you'd be able to get a shape file. You could probably load the shape file into UMAP so that you could at least draw them as a line. Like, you wouldn't be able to kind of restrict the benches to a specific shape file in UMAP, but
you'd at least see the boundary then, I guess.
But you could at least show it as a thing that the users could look at. I mean, a couple of other things we should probably cover on UMAP, because they may be more immediately useful for you. One is that all of these are navy blue squares with a round dot in them. Like, that is just something in UMAP. If you go and look in the layer, so you find your layer, and then there's shape properties, and if you expand that, you can pick the color that they'll all show up as, and you can pick what shape you want them to be, or you can pick a symbol, and there might even be a bench if you're really lucky. There might not be.
Can you link that to an image?
Well, that's what I'm not sure if you can on UMAP, or maybe it's the advanced properties, because an image would make the most sense, wouldn't it? But and then you could just upload whatever icon you wanted yourself. But
yeah, because I could just do like a little graphic then of a bench, then, couldn't I?
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's a yeah, an option for that, unfortunately. No, actually, well, you can do a pop, then a pop-up. Then the side panel. So yeah, I don't think you can, unfortunately.
But I can at least have a mess around with the colours and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
description and things or whatever
Yeah.
else. Yeah.
And the other thing that might be worth doing is there's this just the map settings icon, which is like the kind of cog wheel on the right hand side, which is where you can change the name, but you can also put a description of yeah, this is like this map. This is bike parking, isn't it? Shows all of the bike parking available to add something to the map. Add the bike parking in OpenStreetMap. So if you've got a description, and then I think it's in the user interface options. Let me see. So yeah, you can choose some of the the things that show up on the left hand side. You can kind of pick which ones of those are available. And actually let's put the locate control on, because then people can click on the locate control and it will find where they are and move them to their GPS locations, which is kind of useful.
Yeah.
And then there's this, do you want to display a panel on load? And if you make that caption, and then if I save that and then flip to the kind of this version, which is just going to show what the people will see if they just load the map kind of straight off, then you get this right hand side where it's got the name of the map and whatever you put in the description, and you can include I'm pretty sure you can include links and things like that in the description, so you could provide like more information about how to add stuff, like the adding stuff. It would make sense if there was a like little how-to guide or something like that, or a link to the rambly section kind of 2 hours into this video where it's just like, go and watch this crazy video from like 2 hours in, and you can see how to add a new bench.
Oh god.
Or if it's like, send a photo, geotag a photo and send it to this email address or something, if you're going to do that. I mean, like, you could do some stuff like that, but whatever it is, I suppose I'm just meaning that it's kind of useful to be able to add some extra kind of information over on the right hand side, so it's kind of to explain what the map is. It kind of makes some sense.
Yeah. Honestly, thank you so much for your time on a Sunday afternoon. Like, honestly, it's been so helpful. Thank you. And
That's
obviously, I can refer back to this on either here or YouTube. Is it?
It will be on YouTube, yeah. So the Big Blue Button thing doesn't get recorded, but it was all being streamed to YouTube. And
yeah, because I know there's someone else that was interested but couldn't make it today, so I can always link them to that, and hopefully they'll be able to.
They'll cope with sitting through all of this kind of craziness, yeah.
Exactly, like you should be doing that. Oh god. Yes. I'm gonna have to jet off now, but
that's right.
Really
I think we've got to a kind
time.
of useful point, pretty much.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, thanks very much. It was very useful to be able to see it from this point of view. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
And now we've got our own maps. So.
Yeah.
I haven't, but I will have.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm sure I'll be in touch if I've got any issues or whatever. So
Yeah. And I'll see if I can work out how to get the live data, the kind of updating rather than your bench belt
Oh yeah.
section to display stuff, so
Yeah.
it'll go for and work everywhere. But yeah, look forward to seeing how it all evolves and stuff.
Perfect. Right.
Cool.
I'll see you when I see you.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So much.
No worries. Take care.
And nice to meet you, Jackie, virtually, and obviously meet
Yes.
you, Adrian,
Thanks.
and Gibbo.
Yeah, hope
as
to
well.
see the bench very shortly. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully there'll be a bench in the Fabric
Yeah.
District for you to enjoy your lunch on. Hopefully.
yeah, I might be back in my office in Lee at that stage, but we'll see.
Okay.
yeah,
Right. Nice to see
yeah,
you.
I'd
all.
like to look forward to seeing it. See ya.
See you
Bye.
later.
Cool.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.
All right. And then I need to work out how to do the stop streaming. There we go. Let's mark this offline. And